Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel for another episode in our ongoing new figure showcase series, where I'm going to take a quick look at a newer release that I've been fortunate enough to pick up and I'm adding into my collection. For today's installment, we'll be jumping back to, I guess you can call it a military figure, and it's from Damtoys, and it's something they're calling Agent Hugh Laphroiag. Now, while this looks like a military release, it is listed as an original story, although there's nothing really in the packaging or on the website that would indicate what that story is. So I just picked it up because I did think it would look great with that military collection. And to me, he just has a very distinctive look. Now, if any of you know what that original story from Damtoys is, I would love to know what it is. As an interesting aside though, and I have to say thank you to all of you who have been watching the channel for a while and have commented on the preview video for this one, this figure does seem to be based on a YouTube short called SCP-Overlord. And even the side of the box makes mention of this SCPS, which I think stands for Secure, Contain, and Protect. So basically it's a military force deployed to take on more supernatural style threats. I'm going to add in a link to the short if you're interested in watching it. I personally had no idea what it was about, and a few of you confirmed that was the short to watch, and I watched it and I ended up loving it. It's a really interesting story, albeit it does end with a bit of a cliffhanger. It's a little moody. It's definitely well done, so nice to give you an idea of what this guy is at least based on. Also, as another aside, I actually thought this figure had been lost in the mail for a bit since he seems stuck in shipping, and I mention it because I do want to give a shout out to 16Kit. As soon as I realized there was a problem, I reached out and he was awesome. Great communication throughout, and he was already trying to come up with options to either reimburse or find me another figure, so truly great customer service. Unfortunately, the piece ended up finally showing up, so crisis averted, but I just wanted to give a shout out to Kit for that excellent customer service again. It's really attentive, and I appreciated that. Okay, so let's go back to the figure, and I will say this. He's really kit up in an insane way with a ton of equipment. It's really set up for the end of the world, it seems like, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But first, looking at everything that comes in the package, you can tell immediately that there's a ton of items. And generally with military style releases, you get a bunch of items that you need to assemble yourself. It's always a challenge, to be honest, but it varies, right? Some have more than others. This one is one of the most extensive releases I've seen in a while, with a ton of pouches and items for the harnesses, including shoulder armor, not to mention the headgear, and you get a nice number of weapons, including the SCAR and 2 different guns, so there's a lot to look at right now. So let's take a look at the accessories more in depth, and look, because there's so much, I'm going to try to group these together just to avoid making this video too long. So first up, the rifle, and I love Easy and Simple. I think they do amazing weaponry, but it might be possible that this rifle is actually a little bit better than what they've been giving. So you're seeing the disassembled version first, and the rifle does come with a forward grip and does also include a folding and an extendable stock, as well as a functional safety. So just beautiful overall, with the tan and black as well as gold muzzle. You can kind of see the forward sights also folded down. These do fold up, so they are functional. And then as far as accessories, you get a suppressor with a cloth cover that looks really cool, and then you get the rear sights, a scope that also looks awesome, and a secondary sight like an aim point that's offset to the side, a laser designator, and a flashlight. All mounted on the rails. You get it just looks awesome. And then of course you get the bunch of spare magazines, and like I said, when it's fully assembled, it just looks like an absolutely stunning piece. And I will say, this is actually an interesting aside, I didn't need glue dots here. Everything just fits nice and snug and doesn't slide around on the rail, so I do appreciate that as well. But just looks amazing, and even when you flip the gun, you can see the text on the rifle's upper, including a serial number and barcode. Very impressive and just looks awesome, and I love the cover on the suppressor because it gives it a very unique look. Now next up, you have 2 sidearms. Now I'm not a weapons expert at all, but I think these are both Glocks, as indicated by the markings on the actual pieces. One is a little more standard with a mounted sight and an extended clip, while the second has a much more customized set of accessories to it, with what looks like an enlarged magwell and some nice gold accents, which reminds me a little of some of the customized weapons we've seen in like John Wick. And it does look a little bit flashy for an operator, but it still looks cool. And you have to even love the detail work on the magazines that actually show you the small indentations on the back and markers giving you the count of how many bullets are stored. So that's another great bit of attention to detail. And of course, you get the 2 holsters. One's a drop-down thigh holster, and the other snaps onto a preset mount on the tactical belt. So overall, really impressive looking pieces that carry on with the detail work from the rifle. Now, we're not done with weapons yet because he also includes a grenade launcher. And I've gotten one of these before with the Easy and Simple Air Force controller, but I dare say this one is also a little bit better. Starting with the printing on the sides to the detail work with the rails, it just looks impressive, and even the grenade rounds impress with stamping throughout that just makes them look more real and impressive. The stock does extend out as well, and you can remove the top sight, and of course the barrel slides open to allow you to actually drop in an explosive round. So again, just impressive work. And as an added bonus, and I personally didn't do this just because I didn't want that particular look, but you can remove the top sight and the stock, and you can actually slide this piece directly on the underside of the scar on the forward rail to create like an alternate look with a secondary weapon. So pretty nifty. Alright, now let's get into the tactical vest and the belt. And as you can see, there are a ton of components here. Now everything centers on the vest and the backpack, which clips on to form the rear portion of it, and the tactical belt, which is going to house a number of these pouches. All of them feel really sturdy, which is a plus, but honestly it's a task to put them together. Of course, that is part of the fun here, right? So I'm not going to go over every specific item because there's a ton, but you're getting mag pouches for the rifle, patches for the pistol ammo, and for the grenade rounds, as well as items to house some of the other smaller accessories like the utility knife, the actual grenades, and so on. Now some of them do have like inset foam pieces that you're supposed to remove. It's just meant to give you the shape of the piece and maybe let you manipulate it a little bit easier. But once you remove them using tweezers, you can drop in the appropriate accessories. But as you can tell, again, a lot of items to load up here. As far as other accessories that are going to get loaded up, you get the radio, which is beautifully done and detailed. And on top of things, the wires to the mic and headset are all actually pretty sturdy. So you can try to mold them to a specific look instead of having them just drop wherever they do. You also get a computer that gets mounted onto the chest rig that is functional and opens, along with the interesting flag patch, which I'm sure has to do with the story somehow. Just not sure what that is. And you get the knife that looks awesome along with the sheath, and then you get this oxygen bottle that's a nice yellow and gets mounted to the backpack and actually includes a breathing apparatus. So it's an interesting kit overall here. So look, I didn't want to bore you with the assembly process. Needless to say, since there are no instructions, which is typical for military builds, you really have to depend on the pictures, and of course these are customizable, so you can also do things your own way. But I wanted to strive for the look overall that we saw in the promo shots, and as you can see, fully put together, it's a busy assembly. The belt has both gun holsters and a bunch of pouches for the pistol clips, the grenades, the grenade launcher, and so on. But the vest is really the beast here, starting from the chest portion, because you not only have the rifle mag pouches, but those pouches themselves have pouches on them to hold the scissors, more pistol ammo, and the utility tool. So it's layer upon layer of items. And through it all, you also have to thread in the cables for the radio that connect the chest computer to the chest computer and that are going to ultimately connect to the headset on the helmet. But if that wasn't enough, you also have to thread in the breathing apparatus. And on the other side, you actually have the drinking tube from the Camelback in the backpack. And while I'm not showing it, the backpack actually opens and includes an actual soft plastic Camelback, which again is an awesome bit of detail, going well above and beyond what's necessary. As you can, you're never really going to see that. And the rig also has preset pieces for the shoulder armor, so there's a lot going on. And of course there are pieces that are on the side that are just meant to go on the figure directly, so it is a busy piece as far as everything going on. Next up, the helmet, and I'm going to say this was surprisingly easy to put together, which is a first for me. First of all, it feels a little bigger than what we got with Easy and Simple, and the MVGs feel sturdier in general. The camera and the other piece of equipment mount nicely onto the side rails, and they do mount with a snug fit, so no worries about them falling off. And the NVG mount is super simple and sturdy. Again, no need for glue. As far as everything else, you do get a small piece of pre-cut Velcro that you have to physically put on the helmet to give it all sorts of mounting locations, and you will ultimately use those to hold the strobe at the top, as well as the small case that supports the battery pack for the NVGs on the back. But super impressed with this, and I love the red hue on the lenses because it gives the figure just that bit more of a visual pop. As far as the comp set, it's older with a preset mount onto the top as opposed to individual pieces that get mounted directly to the helmet rails. It's an interesting choice, but it'll look good, it looks good and works well. And final accessory is the gas mask, which is super cool and unique looking, and that's due in large part to the paint scheme on the front that looks almost like a skull with some hints of red that give it just a slight variance from a paint app that looks awesome. The mask itself just stands out with the side filters and the almost animal-like front portion, and of course you get the lenses, which right now has the shades on, but you can remove those covers to get a clear plastic lens underneath. I kind of like the dark lenses, so that's probably how I'm going to keep them, but another interesting part that I feel helps set the figure apart from other military releases. Now, we'll do a quick look at the sculpt, and honestly, pretty good job by Damtoys. Detail on the hair and beard is awesome, and the eyes look incredibly lifelike, so a really good job done from a paint and detail perspective. Sometimes these sculpts are meant to look like an actor, but here I'm not sure if that's the case. Regardless, good job on a piece that honestly a lot of people aren't going to be looking at because you're going to end up covering the figure with everything else. And similarly, I did want to look at the figure overall without any of the kit. And look, he's got the nice black jacket with the vest on already, guessing that's the armor, and then some tan tactical pants and pre-molded gloves that look great. You can actually see a hint of the plaid red shirt that he has underneath, again providing a nice alternate look, but one that I didn't even bother with. But it's there for you to use. But of course, we get these figures to kit them up, and while this isn't the full kit, it gives you an idea of how much is coming with this guy. And not just that, but how much heftier the figure feels in hand, and also how amazing the detail work is, and how incredible it is that everything actually fits. Although you do have to tighten up some of the straps here and there, but not too bad. But there is a ton going on here, even including the guards on the bottom of his legs, the knee pads, as well as the climbing rig with functional clips. It really is visually impressive, but just feels like there is a lot happening. Although that is also masked by the all-black look. So there might be a reason to try to switch to the alternate red plaid look just to give the set a lighter backdrop to really let all the features of the vest pop. But really amazing. But again, this thing comes to life once he's fully kit up with the rifle included, all the lanyards and the drop-down pouches on, and most importantly the gas mask, the helmet, and those awesome looking MVGs. Obviously this is based on that short I told you about, but he looks visually incredible to me and imposing. He's a great companion piece to the easy and simple Ghost. Although speaking of that, I do have some thoughts after putting both of them together, and I'll talk about those maybe in another video. But look, these military releases are some of the best looking 6-scale products that you could ever put together, at least in the final condition, because there's no denying that they catch the eye, right, and just stand out, even compared against things like Hot Toys. Once these are fully kit up, there's just so much detail work there that it looks like a true 6-scale replica of a soldier or operator. And on top of that, the detail work on the weapons, I 100% stand by what I've said before, which is that while Hot Toys and other companies like InArt are impressive, Damtoys really does govern this field when it comes to 6-scale weaponry. And maybe because of their targeted market, they haven't gotten as much attention as those other companies, but they have and continue to do amazing work here. So final thoughts on this guy, just visually striking and impressive. And the only real nitpick here is that it takes some time to assemble. And even after he's kit up, you are going to want to still futz around with everything here to make sure he looks exactly how you want him. But there's just no denying that this is an impressive piece overall, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else is coming from Damtoys. So let me know your thoughts, and as always, thanks for watching, and if you are enjoying the content, please consider dropping a like, comment, or subscribing, and we'll touch base on the next video.